So, a sort of introduction, Mr. Olumide is data scientist. He has been a data scientist for the past 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. He started his career with Computer Warehouse, or maybe he's going to give more introduction about himself, but I know that he's a doyen when it comes to the aspect of data science. And he's really working where he has created a lot of impact in the field. I remember we co-work on a project for the Vice President dashboard at Aso Rock. So giving actionable insight on the Nigerian economy, basically. So he's really someone that has impacted nations, not just companies. So he's here to talk about the field of data science, and I believe it's going to be a great lot of insight to everyone. All right, Mr. Olumide, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I'll go right away, sharing my screen. And my sincere apologies, my internet is not super fast. I'm actually very mindful of it, and for that reason, I might not be able to do a video. But I hope my screen is up. I think from my own end, I think it's up. Yes, so I can see Tolulope nodding.
Yeah.
Thank you for the feedback. Okay, so let's quickly dive into analytics. I have just a short minute and I want to maximize it as much as possible. So we'll go through a brief slide deck. I know very much well that in one area or the other, the word data analytics is not new to us, right? But even in spite of that, I wouldn't want to take any assumption. So for those that probably are still doubting what it is and what it is not, the slide deck will do justice. And from there, we'll go over and look at one or two other things that I will call a proof of concept, right? That's actually as a data analytics or a data scientist that you can come up with. For this particular webinar or for this particular section, I'll be showing something that tied more to general data analytics and not essentially data science because of the time limitation. Okay. So what is data analytics, or the word analytics? What does it really imply, right? Data analytics is a process. It is not just a one-off activity. It's a process that involves several activities, several processes that start with an input and end with an output, right? And the process starts with you identifying what the concern is or what the problem is. So we talk about problem identification. You identify the problem, you identify the concern, you translate this into analytics statements, and from there, we can then start talking about data. So you don't talk about data until you've identified the problem, until you are able to translate this problem into analytics or analytic statements. And from there, you can then say, oh, this is the data set that we will need to crucially or to actually solve this problem. So the process of examining, cleaning, transforming, and interpreting the data, this actually is one core process that data professionals tend to work on or tend to do from time to time. But the other part that has to do with problem identification, translating this into analytics problem, and now identifying the source of data, is either it is primary data or secondary data, are some soft skills that most analytics professionals haven't tends to actually drop by the side. So for our own program, we look at everything end to end. So you start from actually the problem statement, identifying what the problem is, before we then dive into the analytics. So this involves a range of techniques and tools to analyze data. So basically, what we are actually working on is the data set. And before you can work on the data set, you first need to identify what the challenge is. There was a book I read a time ago by Zig Ziglar, and there was one particular section where he said questions are the answers. So it is a question that you ask that will determine the answer that you get. So it is a question that you have in mind, it is a problem that you have in mind that will determine the approach that you take, right? So your approach could be, we need a primary data set. That is, we need to hit the field, we need to get data from people, we need to solicit, get a form of a form or whatever it is, maybe a web form or a mobile form, to actually get the data. Or we don't need to go that route. Data is already available somewhere. We just need to plug in, maybe connect via API or download the data from a repository, and there we go, right?
Mo
So
send this thing, I
that is
send
that.
this.
So
Ó lè máa retí pé kó get àwọn phone feedback or message. In the
okay,
same
sorry, can you
example.
help to mute? I think I can hear a feedback. Okay, so in terms of what are the critical tasks that we tend to do, or we tend to visibly do as a data analyst or a data professional, data cleaning is the core. As a matter of fact, what data cleaning is, okay, the good thing about it is that data cleaning is even, the word cleaning simply means you are manipulating something or you are changing something. In a way, the data you are collecting, either primary or secondary, will probably have an issue. The issue could be that there are a few missing values. That's one issue. The issue could be that, okay, there's inconsistency. You have a variable called gender. Gender is meant to be male and female, for instance. However, instead of typing male, you can see M. Instead of typing female, you see F, right? At the end of the day, you have a combination of male, female, F and M, right? So you might want to adjust this into M being turned to male, F being turned to female. What you are doing in that regard is data cleaning. And that alone will take up to 80% of your time, because in one area or the other, data you are collecting, either primary or secondary, will not be in the form and shape that you needed it to be. So you need to do a bit of panel beating, you need to do a bit of data wrangling to actually get that done. Then moving on, we talked about data analysis and modeling. And this is where you now use the data to address the concerns, the problems that you've seen, right, or that you've identified. And thereafter, we do what we call data interpretation, which is communicating insight. So your job as a data analytics or professional, a data professional, is not yet completed until you are able to communicate an insight. And that is where the interpretation comes in. Because at the end of the day, what you have as a result is just some set of numbers, right? It could be in form of a visual, it could be in form of numbers, just some set of data. However, these numbers that you have as a result
I think we
Seems
lost Mr.
yeah.
Olumide for a bit. But no worries. I think he explained previously that his network, he's having some issues with his network, but I'm sure he's going to join us as soon as he can. But in the meantime, I still want to welcome everyone here who has joined us. I see that we have more participants now. We have Kenny, Okewale, we have Jude, we have Esther, we have Saidat. You're highly welcome. We also have Esther, we have Ayo, and a very welcome to Ifesheyi and Akin. I believe his name is Akin. I see Akino. Mr. Akino, you're welcome. So here again, I'll just reiterate the purpose of this webinar. So just waiting for Mr. Olumide to join us again and, kind of like share his knowledge with us. I believe you have already started seeing, what you can gain from this webinar. I hope you're already learning one or two things about data analytics, even starting from like the data cleaning and then the analysis part, which I believe he was going to go further and delve into. But for now, I don't know. Can I just kind of like interact with the audience? I just ask if you can, I don't know, type in the chat or something. What field are you actually interested in? Is it data analytics? Is it I don't know, Python? Is it SQL? Is it what skills are you interested in? Or is it software engineering? You can type in the chat box. Let me see. There should be and people have started typing. That's very good. So I say some people are interested in the world of software engineering. That means we have some tech bros and tech with where are my tech sis? Where are my tech sisters? Only bros are here. That's what I'm seeing here in the chat. But it's okay. You're welcome. I see someone is interested in software testing, software quality, Python. I believe we had software testing webinar last week, and we had a Doyen speaking to us about that. So I hope you were actually there as the webinar, but even if you were not there, that's okay, that's fine. You can still reach out to us, and the tutor is going to be available to have the classes with you if that's what you're really interested in. I see there are people here that are interested in Python product design. Wow. Some of these things here I actually don't know much about them. So but it's good to see that there's like interest in all of these areas. Even myself, I like to learn about different areas as well. So I mean, aside from what I'm really, really interested in, I feel like no knowledge is wasted, right? So it's always good to be able to say one or two things about other fields. So even if you're not here for software testing or Python or product design or machine learning or data analysis or financial analytics or whichever of the fields are going to be discussed today, there is no reason for you to feel left out. They might have discussed it in the previous webinar, which is fine. All you have to do is have this knowledge sharing section, gain one or two things here, and then reach out to Doyenify for the particular course that you're interested in, and then you can start to learn more about that course. But in the meantime, I think I'll ask Mr.
Yeah, I'm
Olumayowa.
back.
Okay, all right. Mr. Olumide is back, so you're highly welcome again. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so let me just continue from where, unfortunately, my internet went down. Not that it went down, the device actually timed out and I never knew. Sharing my screen once again. Where is slide deck? Just a moment. Okay. Just a moment. All right, so share.
I can see your screen now, so that's good.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm putting on slide mode. All right, so at the end of the day, so okay, I'm talking about data quality assurance. So as long as you are able to actually identify basic assurance metrics like consistency, validity, and a few other ones, and you are able to test them to see that your data actually met all of these, then you can move on. Otherwise, you can resort to doing some data cleaning. And in most cases, you actually have a better control, especially when you're working with a primary data source, which is one of the core part that we often take in this particular course. We try to look at primary data source vis-a-vis secondary data source. And in case you're doing primary data source, what are the controls that you can put in place to ensure that your data at the end of the day is of quality? For instance, you deployed a survey or you deployed a form, a mobile form, and you have a question which asks for the gender of the respondent or the participant, right? It will be better for you to code this response appropriately and not allow the interviewer to type in the response, because at the end of the day, you know the probable answer to be either male or female. So what you're doing in that regard is safeguarding the data that is being collected to be of quality. So these and many more are what we actually touch based on in this regard. Another thing that is also essential is data visualization. As a matter of fact, when you have a non-technical stakeholders, it is better you communicate your analysis to them visually. And that is one of the reasons why data visualization is a core part, a core area that as a data professional, you need to be very vast in. For instance, you need to know when a pie chart is admissible, when a bar chart is admissible, what's the difference between a bar chart and an histogram, what is the difference between a line chart and a bar chart, and when can I use a line chart at the end of the day. Is a line chart admissible when my category axis, my x-axis is not dates? I've seen people actually use this in such a way that is not actually right. For instance, you have a line chart and the x-axis is not dates. What the line chart is depicting a trend, and you're taking your trend from a particular time period to another time period. So when your x-axis is not time-based and you're using a line chart, then the insight you are communicating from the chart is essentially wrong. So these and many more are what we'll be looking at during the course. So when it comes to software that we use in the course, it's not limited to either R, SPSS, or Python. Essentially, we tend to use more of R and a little of Python. SPSS we don't essentially, except if we have someone in the cohort that actually need a glimpse of what SPSS, of what they can actually achieve in SPSS, essentially for those that are not that are a bit more tailored towards social sciences, right? But for R and Python, the benefit of them is that they help you to build a reproducible analysis. What do I mean by that? You are able to reproduce your work at a very short time, unlike when you're using Excel. But that doesn't mean we will not touch base on Excel. We still do a bit more around Excel, essentially for data analysis. Now, when it comes to data collection, we use ODK. ODK is Open Data Kits. And the good thing about ODK is that essentially in areas where internet connectivity is not very strong, you can deploy your ODK form such that you can use it to collect data even without internet, and when you are connected to the internet, your data will then drop to the server. Now, this is the edge of ODK over Microsoft Form and Google Form that most likely we'll all be familiar with. And also, there are various questions or various question type that you can have in ODK that are not currently available on Microsoft Form and Google Form. But if your use case is such that ODK is such that Microsoft Form or Google Form will suffice, that is equally fine. But we look at ODK essentially for the benefit of extensive use cases that I just mentioned. For data cleaning, there are many tools in which you can use. Some are open source, some are actually proprietary software, but equally R and Python essentially can do the job, and Excel equally can do a bit around it, essentially when the data set is not very large. We'll also touch base on a bit around relational database. That is when you have your data residing in an RDBMS environment, how you can connect to it from R or from Python, and this and stuff like that. Now, another thing that we also essentially will also look at is called literate programming. Now, literate programming is not different from what you do in R or Python, but what literate programming simply implies is that your ability to write your code and also to write your comments. Your comment will be like an explanation of your report. And at the end of the day, you will have all of this as a document which can be shared with someone else or can be sent to your stakeholder. So I'm going to show an example of a pro bono job or a pro bono service that I rendered to an organization using the idea around literate programming in a short while. So talking about expected salary, the expected salary for a data analysis person or a data analysis professional is not limited to the figures shown on this board because it changes from time to time. But the good thing about it is that data analytics is a necessary tool to have, is a necessary skills to have, because we are in an environment where data are being generated from time to time, and businesses relies on this data to make actionable insight. Also, personally, you also need these skills to better communicate with a technical person, because let's say, for instance, you work as a business analyst and your work revolves working with a data engineer, with a data scientist, with a data analytics person on a team, right? You need to be able to speak their language. You need to be able to understand those technical things that they are saying. So it is not limited to those that actually essentially want to work in data analysis full time, but even those that actually need this as an adjoining skills that they can add to their arsenal. So let's quickly go over the sort of a project that I said I want to share. So let me just quickly create what the problem looks like. Now, it's actually a school, and what were the concerns they have? You know, I said a data analysis most likely will start from a problem, right? Will most likely start from a problem. I'm trying to change my screen to, okay, let me share a new screen. Just a moment. So while I'm sharing the screen, let me just walk you through what the problem is all about. The school actually have a concern, even though they did not understand the concern early enough, but I was able to understand the concern. The concern is that they have a lot of detractors, or a lot of individuals that you can call passive customers. So they have parents that in a way they are not very enthusiastic about the school. And what that simply implies is that these parents will not be their promoters, right? A promoter of your brand is someone that can go all out to talk to other folks about your business, about what you're doing, and be a voice for you, even where you are not available, right? But this school seems to have that. So we identified that as a problem, and we designed a set of a question using ODK, right? Using ODK, Open Data Kit, we designed a set of questions, and this set of questions were put in the ODK form and shared with the parents. Okay, so they show windows. Okay, coming. There are many windows I have open. Just okay. Now I have it shared. So I just want to go straight to the report. Now, so the form was shared with parents. They filled in their responses. The responses collected and analyzed. Right? I wish I can actually go and show what the form really looks like, but just to save time, let's just walk over the reports together. Now, this report you're seeing here is actually created from R using the literate programming that I made mention of. Do you understand? So just imagine you writing a code that you can generate a document showing all your analysis, including your visuals, right? And whatever the comment it is that you want to put, right? And at the end of the day, you are able to share these insights with your stakeholders and use to drive engagement. And as I said earlier on, that at the end of the day, your core job is not only to share analysis, but also to communicate insights. So at the end of the whole journey, this is what the NPS looks like, the Net Promoter Score. The Net Promoter Score shows a 0. And what that simply implies is that they have the same quota of promoters they have, is the same quota of detractors they have, right? As you can see from this particular bar, the green bar, which is a score of 9 to 10, are the promoters, whereas the score from 7 to 8 before 9, right, less than 9, are the passive. Passive are people that they are neither here nor there, right? They are neither here nor there. However, detractors are those that you tell them about the school, or somebody is asking about the school, and they can say, oh, that school, I don't know what they are doing. They are not really serious there, right? So with the word of their mouth, they can just send other potential parents that could probably bring their word to the school. They can send them away. So the job for the school first will be to ensure that they bring the people in this box, which is actually the passive, those that are passive, make them join the promoter. Do you understand? Identify their pain points, make them join the promoter. And those that are actually within the detractor, try to narrow them down so that at the end of the day, you will have a smaller quantity of detractors and a larger quantity or a larger number of parents in your promoter wing. So the feedback identify based on what the concerns are, based on what the parents actually imputed or shared via the form were taken, and the call outs were shared with the school authority to actually look into, so that at the end of the day, they can drive higher satisfaction and also have a better net promoter score in their subsequent survey or in their subsequent survey at the end of the day. So this is actually an example of what we can do, right? And many more, even more than this. And if you ask me, this is just a basic example around using your analytic journey to as a form of descriptive analytics, because in this case there is essentially no model. This is not a deep data science work. It is basically descriptive analytics, right? So as we go together in the course, for those that will be joining the course, many more things you will see. You ask questions about how this document is generated, how you can even generate even something more than this. This is just a LaTeX beamer, and you can generate as many more. All right, even if it is HTML document that you can actually use to communicate your analysis, and you won't need to be doing copying and pasting. So you copy your analysis from whatever tool you are using, from Excel or from R or from Python, and you paste it in your PowerPoint environment and you put in your comments. No, you can do everything straight off from this environment. Even you can generate your PowerPoint. Now imagine you being able to generate your weekly report or your monthly report or your quarterly report from this environment. What that simply implies is that once your data set changes, you just need to click a button and that report will be generated the same way. Unlike if you are to use Excel or PowerPoint, you will need to copy your chart from Excel and paste in PowerPoint and adjust one thing or the other. But in this sense, reproducibility is very, very enhanced, and within a tinkle of a hand, you are done with whatever it is that you need to do. So at this point, I would like to stop and wait for questions, comments, and for those that want to join the course, I say welcome, and we'll go on this journey together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olumide, for that wonderful presentation and illustration which you have done. I actually learned one or two things there. Thank you very much for your presentation. I believe that participants already have some questions on their mind for you at the moment. So please, if you have some questions, please go to the chat box and type your question for Mr. Olumide. But I think I want to launch the Q&A session. I'll just ask a question of my own to you, sir. So I wanted to ask that because I can see some fantastic things that you've already done here, with all this experience, and it's actually can be kind of intimidating, to someone that just wants to start data analysis afresh for the first time. So I don't know, can you give us like an idea of like how long does it take to get to this level, to kind of like upskill? Is it like, I don't know, 20 years? Is it 10 years? Is it 6 months? Is it, just can you give us like a time frame for someone that is interested in this field?
Okay, so the course is actually delimited beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But end to end, I would say that for an intense work of about 3 months, any individual that joined the course can move from ground zero to a meaningful ground, whereby they can actually create something close to what I just shared. You understand? Even if, for instance, I've not done anything around data before, I don't know much around it, or I've done a bit around it, but in the past, or I'm even currently a data analysis person, but maybe the tools that I used are not the same as what you use. All of this within the first 3 months of our journey together. I strongly believe that, yes, you'll be able to do what I just shared and even much more. Yes. That I believe, but the bulk of it also depends on the participants, because there will always be tasks, there will always be some sort of smaller pet project here and there, and as much as you are able to do this and get your hand to it, your experience starts building up, and everything builds up from ground zero to whatever ground it is that you want to go to. So that's just it for me.
Okay, that's very good. So you've heard this from the master himself. So it depends on also your passion as well. The bulk of the work still lies with you, but of course, if it's a tutor like Mr. Olumide, an expert in his field, he will be able to guide you and put you through this in about like 3 months, like you mentioned, to kind of even start applying for jobs, I believe, in the field of data analytics. I have one more question. In case anyone has any more question, please feel free to ask. But I have one more question before we go to the next speaker. So I just want to ask, how did you learn all this? Because in the university, at least from the university I attended, they don't teach all these things there. So they might teach one or two basic academic stuffs, but in terms of like on the job skills, like they don't really teach a lot of this there. So how did you actually learn those skills, like from your own experience?
Okay, fantastic question. So, not to shade our high school experience, right? I would say the experience actually started for me from campus, right? I studied mathematics, industrial mathematics, and later the statistics, and that actually created a sort of a foundation for me to be number savvy, to actually have passion for numbers. Now, this is not to scare you, peradventure you did something not related, maybe some sort of social sciences or whatever it is still the same, right? We'll find a way to bring everything together. Now, however, the most important part of it was actually on the job. The high school created the experience in terms of the foundation, having a good understanding around number, passion for the number, from my statistics and mathematics background, but the essential part that now evolves around doing what I did or doing what I'm doing currently is actually on the job. And moreover, you agree with me that technology actually has evolved over time, right? Back in the days, I know most data person or data whatever that we are called then, we majorly use tools like SPSS and the likes, right? But these have been, the time has actually evolved into writing codes, essentially, even as a statistician or as a data scientist. You write your code, and with that opportunity, tools like R and Python, they gain herewith in the mainstream analytics, and my job basically is just to ensure that I also align myself with technological growth. So as there is a change in the space, I also make the change as well. So I would just want to encourage you that it is not a static environment. It's not an environment where you learn, and once you learn it, then you're fine, right? You learn and you keep learning. You learn and keep learning and keep going. So that's just it for me, if that actually answers your question. Thank
Yes,
you.
definitely. Thank you very much for that insight. Practice also makes perfect. I think I got that also from what you said. So yeah, I see that one person has a question from the chat. And this person is asking, is data analytics a general course for everybody or a private session? And his second question is like, how many hours of class will you get every week in the Doyenify program? I think for the second question, it's I can answer that one. It's 1.15, so 15 minutes and 1 hour for each class, and there are 2 classes a week, so together that's like 2 hours and 30 minutes. But for the first question, can you answer that, Mr. Olumide? That is this course general course for everyone, or I don't know what he means by private session. What he says
Okay, so
private session.
if I may answer a general course, I would say it is those that desire. Do you understand? The pursuit of desire, pursuit is a proof of desire, right? So for those that desire it, then you pursue it, right? So it is not that it is general and it is compulsory. No, but if you desire it, then you pursue it. Private section, so it is actually a cohort section where we come together with about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We come together and we have section online. And it's, as she said, it's actually 2 times a week, mostly Saturday and Sundays. We agree on the time and we tend to work together. An hour, 15 minutes is what it takes. And if need required, then we can actually extend it. But it's very, very flexible. An experience in one cohort will be different from an experience in another cohort. So it's very, very flexible. We take the input from class members before we actually design the class structure. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
thank you
Mr.
so much,
Olumide.
Mr. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Olumide and Tolu. I really just want to add more light to that question. So talking about the cohort and the Doyenify, we have 2 kind of program. I believe you can see my screen, everyone.
Yes.
So I'm sharing my screen for us to understand the platform. So